Greetings, royal family. I'm back. Sistas, episode 4. Of course, you know it's season 1. You read the title. Let's just get straight into it. So the episode left off last week with Andi and the wife client, which is Gary's wife, in the office, and she's sporting a new ring that Gary gave her. She's so excited. She told her that, she's not going to be getting a divorce and everything is all good. So this episode opens up, where last week left off. So Andi is sitting there like trying to keep her composure. She's shocked. She can't believe it. So the wife client said that, she's sorry for wasting her time and, it's unfortunate. She hopes she doesn't have to see Andi again. No offense to her. So she's just smitten. She's happy. Now remember, the ring that the wife client is sporting is the very same ring that Gary proposed with to Andi. And Andi obviously didn't accept the proposal. All right. So, again, she's showing off her ring. She asked Andi if she was married, and Andi said no. And the wife client told her that once she's married, she will hold in a lot of stuff to keep their marriage together. So wife client departs. Andi immediately goes to the bathroom and she is having a meltdown. Like she's crying. She's checking the stalls to make sure no one's in the bathroom. She's crying. And then she calls Karen. Karen is asking her, are you at work and are you okay? And she says, Karen says, stay right there. I'm going to come and meet you. So in the next scene, Andi is coming out of the bathroom. Visibly, you can tell that she's been crying. Her boss calls her in. He's not excited. He asked her, what happened to the wife client. And he asked her if her conflict of interest had anything to do with her not needing the law firm services. Because, and then Andi said, no, she's not getting a divorce. I'm not in the business of breaking up a marriage, really. Anyway, so her boss is just ticked off, so he sends her home and she asks if he is going to fire her, and he didn't say anything. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no. Before she asked him that, I think it was in the first episode or so, and he said no. But this time he just tells her, look, I put my neck out on the line for you to be here. You're being heavily watched. Everybody's got their eyes on you. And this is not a good look because this was a huge client. This woman, the wife client, had money. So she tells her to go home. He tells her to go home early and just leave. And he said, it's obvious that you've been crying. You just need to go home. So now it looks like Andi's job is potentially in jeopardy. So we move on, and Karen is at the salon. And her ice cream guy, the guy she met in the supermarket, Aaron, I think his name is, he called her at the salon saying that, he wants to take her out on a date. At first, Karen was resistant, but then she said, okay, fine. We move on to Danni. She is at the airport. Danni is the outspoken friend. And she's at the airport. So there is a new girl, I guess, working at the airport. And it appears that the new girl, and Zach, who also works at the airport, are flirting with each other. So Danni decides to go up to her, and she's basically saying, what did you do to him? Did you do anything with him? Oh, God. And the girl's like, no, I haven't or anything like that. She comes across as a real good Christian girl. And Danni is telling her to watch out for him. Again, Zach. So Danni says to her coworker, you need to look out for him because he gave me herpes. Oh my gosh. So the girl says, I'm not even intimate with him. He knows my uncle. My uncle runs a homeless shelter. And she says that she just looks out for him. So this is where we discover that Zach is pretty much staying at a homeless shelter because remember, him and Karen broke up and Karen kicked him out. So we move on. We see Sabrina and Maurice. They're at the bank, and he's telling Sabrina about the date that him and Calvin had. Remember, Calvin approached Maurice and it seemed like he was flirting with him. And, Maurice was so excited. But come to find out, Maurice just pretty much wanted to get in good with Sabrina, get back in her good graces. So Maurice is painting the picture as if, they had a good time on the date in the coffee shop. And then he pretty much reveals that the only thing that he could talk about was you, meaning Sabrina. And he wanted to pretty much know everything about her. So Maurice told him, and Maurice said that Sabrina, how dare you assume that he's gay, which is ironic because Maurice assumed the same thing. So Maurice tells her, he was raised by two men. Both his fathers are gay, and he is sensitive to, he relates to, or, he's comfortable communicating with gay men. So he just pretty much said that the whole date that he talked about her. So Sabrina's all excited, and Maurice is telling her, yeah, you should call him. You should get back connected with him. So that's that. Now, back to Andi. Andi shows up at Karen's salon, and Karen is surprised to see her because it's the middle of the day. And Andi tells Karen that, she was sent home early and that her boss kind of knows about the conflict of interest. So they go back in the back room of the salon and they're talking. And Andi tells her about the wife client not getting a divorce anymore. And she also tells her that Gary pretty much cried to her and proposed to her. And then, she told him to get out. And then Andi says that she feels like she drove Gary back into his wife's arms. Ma'am, girl, Andi, he's not your man. He's not your man. So Karen is telling Andi at this point to calm down because she's like yelling, she's hysterical, and she's like, I want to show up to his job and I'm going to let everybody know. And Karen is calming her down. Again, they're in the back room of the salon. And Karen tells her to block Gary, block him, just delete his number and block him. And she said that's what she did to Zach. So they both at the same time deleted Gary and Zach's phone number from their phones. Then they smoke weed and they start laughing and giggling. So now we're back to Danni and Zach. So Zach, he finds out that Danni is going around, saying that he gave her a STD. And he said, will you please stop telling people that? So Danni tells Zach, look, I know that you have been staying in a homeless shelter. Move in with me because I need help with the rent. Zach is like, heck no, because, you might try to take advantage of me when I'm sleeping or something like that. He did say that things are done with him and Karen. She kicked me out. And that's that. He's not going back. So Danni is trying to make it seem like, no, you guys are going to get back together. You guys love each other. Like I said last week in my video, I'm not feeling that. Like, I get it, sis, you need help with the rent, but this just seems a little bit weird. So, Zach wants to move on. So he's just like, I'm not even considering that offer. So then we get to Danni and Sabrina. They're in the supermarket, and Danni is pretty much telling Sabrina that Zach is staying in the shelter and she invited him to live with her to help with the rent. So Sabrina doesn't think that that's a good idea. I'm with you on that one, Sabrina. And Sabrina, they're shopping. Sabrina's buying I think she said lamb chops. She's buying food, wine. Danni's asking her who are you buying all of this stuff for? So she tells her that she's going to be cooking for Calvin, and he's not gay, and he grew up with two gay parents, and so on and so forth. So Danni is not buying it. Danni thinks yeah, nah, something ain't right. And then we see Danni, she sees one of her ex-boyfriends or someone that she used to date, and she pretty much approaches him, and he is with a new girl, probably his girlfriend. And she confronts the both of them, and she calls the girl a floozy. And he's just saying to her, Danni, we're not dating, right? We're not in a relationship. So Danni is just acting crazy. She's cussing the two of them out. And then you see Danni chasing after the guy and then chasing after the girl. And Sabrina's trying to hold her back, and they're running through the supermarket. What was the point of that? I don't know, but we may see this guy reappear. We still don't know much about Danni. We know she likes to smoke a little weed. She needs help with her rent because she spends her money on weed. She said the price of weed is going up, and because of inflation. So we don't know we don't really know too much about her. So we'll see what happens. Karen and the ice cream man. So they're on a date, And Karen is, saying that, oh, she's tired from a long day. So he offers to rub her feet at the dinner table in the restaurant. So she's looking like, what? No. Then she obliged. He's rubbing her feet under the table. You can tell that she is like feeling it and all this other stuff. Then I think the scene switched to Sabrina and Calvin. So he arrives. He arrives at the door. He has her favorite wine, and she pretty much opens the door in her red lingerie. Okay, she did have a cover up on, but she looked very pretty. So he was like surprised. He's like, wow, he brought a bottle of wine, and she says, how do you know this is my favorite wine? Maurice told you, didn't he? So she apologizes to him for judging him about his sexuality. So he was fine with it. So he was excited that she was cooking and she had like a nice little romantic evening set up for them. Next scene with Karen and Aaron. We're back on that scene. That scene could have just been one long scene instead of going back and forth, back and forth. But whatever, I'm not directing this show. So they're still at the restaurant. And she's asking him, what he does for a living. He's telling her he doesn't really like dating. He's more of a commitment kind of guy. And Karen is just like, I heard that before. So she's not really buying what he's selling. He's looking for an attorney. He tells her that he's looking for an attorney because, he's married, but he will be divorcing his wife. And Karen refers Andi, because remember, Andi's a divorce attorney, right? So this just sounds like it's going to be all bad, right? So it's good, you giving your homegirl, some business, but I don't know. I have a strong feeling all of this stuff is going to tie into one another. It's just going to be a mess. So he did say that his wife cheated on him. They were married for 15 years and he cheated on her. She cheated on him once. So Karen is like taken aback. She's shocked, like that he wants to end a 15-year marriage after the wife only cheated, once. He says that that's a total deal breaker for him, and she knew that. So fast forward, they're getting ready to end the date. She had a great time. He had a great time. He asked the waiter for the check, and he goes to reach for his wallet, and he says, darn, I forgot my wallet. So Karen offers to pay for the dinner, and he's very adamant about not letting her pay. He's like, look, no, because then you're going to tell me some long story about how you dated a guy and you had to pay for him. He said, no, let me just call my wife. She'll bring me my credit card. What? So Karen is just like, what? So he says, look, I don't hate her. I'm just pretty much done. And again, she's like, no, I can pay for it. He says, no. So he picks up the phone and he calls his wife and he's like, hey, I'm at the restaurant on so-and-so, which is not too far from where they live. So they're still living together. And can you bring my wallet? We go back to Danni and Zach. So Zach shows up at Danni's house. He has a little suitcase and he decides to stay with Danni, and he tells her that he has rules. Rule number 1 is she can't come in the bathroom while he is in the bathroom. And he also says that if she has a guy over, she's planning to have company, just give him the heads up so he can find somewhere to go. And also, if he is having company or if he brings a girl over, she can't go back and tell the rest of the sisters. She doesn't agree. She's like, nope. But he says, that's it. That's the rules, so on and so forth. So he gives her half the money for the rent, and that's that on that. So now we're back to Karen and Aaron at the restaurant. Now his wife shows up at the restaurant and he's talking to her. Like, he doesn't step outside. He just kind of steps off to the back because they're kind of like in an outside setting. So Karen, she picks up her phone and she's calling Andi just to check on her. She's like, oh girl, I'm sorry I didn't call you. This date is longer than I expected. So you see Andi standing outside her apartment door. And she's just like, oh, I'm fine. How's the date going? And Karen's like, it's okay. Just small talk. She's like, how you feeling? Are you good? Andi says, I'm fine. I just came back from the gym. So Karen ends the call because she's like, oh, he's coming back. So she's like, have fun, Andi walks into her apartment, flicks on the light, and Gary is in her apartment sitting on her couch. He's crazy. He is absolutely crazy. So Gary says to her, she's like, what are you doing here? And Gary says, I left her. I left my wife. I packed all my stuff up and I'm moving in. He lying. He lying. So Andi is standing there like, what? So the episode ends. And next week, we're going to see Zach making like a move on Danni. Like he's saying to her, she's so chocolate. And he's in her room with his shirt off, laying across her bed. And he's just like flirting with her. And Danny's like, what the heck are you doing? We're also going to continue the story with Aaron and his wife at the restaurant. At this point, him and the wife are standing at the table and Karen is sitting down. It's like, you guys need to sort this out. And he's just like, no, we don't need to sort anything out. She needs to leave. And then also, Crazy Gary is pretty much trying to move in with Andi. And Andi could possibly lose her job. Like you see a scene where there is a boardroom and there's people sitting at the table and she's walking past the office, probably going to be walking in. And that would be something else if Andi loses her job. Ain't that crazy? She should have never said anything to her boss about a conflict of interest because he is not willing to risk it all for her. He already feels like he's risked enough and eyes are watching. And again, this is a predominantly white firm. She is a black woman. So it's, you know how that politics in the office goes. So he basically, her boss, he doesn't want her to make him look bad. So if she loses her job, she is going to go haywire. Now I wonder, he's lying because remember, Gary doesn't know that the wife client showed up in Andi's office or was referred to Andi. He knows nothing about that. So she better know he's lying. She better knows that he's lying. Or the wife client could really be on to Andi and know who Andi is. And she's probably setting Gary and Andi up. I don't know. These scenes were a little bit long and drawn out. They could have been shortened. I wish we would have seen more about like Danni. I'm really ready for that. This is episode 4. So we kind of are in the crux of things as far as all the other characters. But Danni, it's kind of like, okay, what's her deal? Okay, like you got her chasing after a man in the supermarket. He's with his new girlfriend. I don't like the development of Danni's character. I don't. I'm getting used to the characters. If you've seen the episode, tell me what you think. If not, I know a couple of my viewers said that they're not watching it. So hopefully I'm painting a good picture. I always say that. But yeah, that was it. I mean, hopefully next episode will be a little bit more intense or more entertaining. This wasn't a very entertaining episode. Like I said, the scenes were drawn out. Like they were really, really long and drawn out. And this is episode 4. And every single episode, we're ending with Danni and something. You know, it's like it's ending with Danni. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes. I hope Danni doesn't, not Danni, with Andi and something. Like that's how the episodes end. Y'all think Danni is going to sleep with Zach? That would be, I told you in the beginning, Karen don't really care for Danni. And it's evident. It's kind of like, okay, we're all friends, so we get along. But there's cliques. It's 4 of them. Sabrina and Danni are close. And Andi and Karen are close. So I don't know, y'all. That's all I got. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I'm still here, Tyler Perry. I'm gonna, you know, watch to the end. Allegedly, there's only like 7 or 8 episodes. So this is episode 4. And if it's 8 episodes, we're halfway through, y'all. Be sure to like this video if you like it. Get down in the comments and tell me what you think. If you are watching Tyler Perry Sistas, let me know what you think so far. Yeah, and I'll meet you down in the comments. That's it, Royal Family. Until next time, peace.